This is Aaron Perry with Tech 12 Class again. Today we're going to look at some steering components and explain to you guys what happens when you turn your car on and why your steering wheel turns. So first, once your vehicle is on and you've got power steering, that is a lot to do with this right here. It's our reservoir, usually red. You can run ATF, which is automatic transmission fluid, as well as power steering fluid, because ATF is just a detergent. So when you put it in your power steering, it cleans the whole thing out. So when you're flushing it, or if you blow a line and you're able to fix it on the side of the road, you don't have power steering fluid, but you do have automatic transmission fluid, you can use that as well. So right here, when the time you turn your vehicle on and you start turning your steering wheel, this piece right here is your steering shaft, and the Dodges are famous for being loose right there. And it comes down, it goes into your steering box. In your steering box, you'll be able to see it from underneath. It has a couple of lines that run up, which one is pressure, one is return. It comes up to your power steering pump, which pumps it back as well, so you can get your pressure going. So it goes from manual steering to power steering. It's all done through that box and in here. There's not much electronics to do with this. There is one pressure switch, and if you have really hard steering, you can undo your pressure switch, and if your pump's not bagged, then you'll have really light steering. Underneath the vehicle, that's where we have our tie rods, our steering stabilizing shock, and our pitman arm and everything. Sway bar links, it's not quite to do with steering, but when you're driving down the road and your sway bar links are in, you'll notice that you don't get the wobble that you'd usually get, because it's just stabilizing you. You're going down the road straight that way. Right here, we'd have our left tie rod, and it would come down to our large tie rod that goes to the pitman arm. And this piece right here is one. So this whole arm, when you buy this tie rod, you get that. When you buy this tie rod, you're just buying the end. And again, it just winds in right there. This one winds together. This is your pitman arm off your steering box. Some of these do have a cooler in them. That's just so you don't boil your power steering fluid. Not really a big problem if you're just going from spot to spot in town, but when you're on the highway doing a lot of turns or in the prairies, then you'll notice that you need that quite a bit. Right here we have our track bar, and again what it does is it just holds the diff to the frame with a ball joint right there and a rubber mount right there. And it just holds you solid. When this becomes loose, you get a lot of rocking back and forth when you turn your steering wheel, as well as a clunk. To test these, you just try and give it a twist, and there's no play back and forth. So that one's good. This one's good, no play back and forth. If you turn the steering wheel inside, that's a lot of the time when you can see the play, but these are all good. Right here, back and forth. That one's pretty good. One could use a little bit of grease, but that's about it. But that one's not even greasable. Oh, sorry, Don, because that's still a stock tie rod. What else do you want to know about this? Oh, right and left, back and forth really quick. Just a little bit, so you can see just how it comes down from our shaft right there. You get the play starting going to there, comes down through your pitman arm, and it starts to move here. Starts to move this tire. Then it comes down to this rod and it starts to move this tire. Because it's happening so fast, it all moves as one. And then along with your steering, you got your ball joints, which let your vehicle turn and pivot. Yeah, that's enough. And these ones are good because I checked them previous to this video. The top ones are always greasable. The bottom ones, when you have a four-wheel drive in this U-joint right here, which if you didn't have a U-joint and you just had a straight piece of steel through there, you'd never get to turn. That's why it's important to have the U-joint when you have a four-wheel drive. Right there, they just pivot. And these ones do the same thing, just a wheel joint and a pivot. And this is a all-in-one hub, so your four-wheel drive, when you pull it into four-wheel drive, it's automatically in. It's an always locked-in hub. It's like having your Ford with your hub turned in. That's the beauty of a Dodge. but you have to do your front ends a lot more frequent when you can turn your or when you can't turn your hubs in or out. They're just solid in. We're going to continue from our steering to our suspension now. Right here, this truck is lifted. So when you lift a coil spring truck, you can get a bigger spring, or you can get a puck right here. And that just takes what used to just be a rubber insulator with a couple of bolts to an actual puck that spaces your coil out. So you get a larger shock. You sometimes get a bigger coil. This one has the sport front end in it that I took out of a different truck. So you got your 3-inch spacer, plus it comes factory 1 inch higher. So with these springs, and this gives it a 4-inch lift from factory from what this truck was stock. These bars right here, as you see them, they're just holding your diff in. Then right here on suspension, what we got is got a leaf spring, got our shocks. Now, just because it's rusty does not mean it's bad. When you look inside of there, I should change those though. You can see how it's not weeping yet. That's just dirt, and that's still nice and shiny. There's no rust pitting, there's no leakage, so your shock is still good, and there's no point replacing it until it starts to leak, because they look like that when you got salt on the road within 1 winter anyway. Right here we got our main leaf spring. Where these usually rot out is in your shackle. This one is all good. So just bolt to the frame, bolt to the spring and up, and that gives you your solid mount to the frame there. And that one is just strictly onto the frame with a bolt. Because we lifted the front on this one, we put an extra 3-inch block in the back, which you can see from right here. I'll take that down. So right here we have this block and this block. Usually they just come with one 3-inch. Dump another 3-inch in because rear ends are already higher from factory, meant for towing. So that levels it out. You got your other shock right there. There's no pitting on it either. It's good and clean. The rear end housing, inside of this there is 410 gears, which just means it's a very low gear. 4 turns on the pinion to 1 on the crown is how you do that. 4 revolutions to 1 revolution.
Can you explain why your left shock goes from the axle back and your right shock goes from the axle forward?
Sure. Just the way that it sits, when you put weight on it, you need it to level out all the time, and you need these to hold in square. So if it's not holding in square and you have both shocks on the back, if you put any weight in the front, your truck's gonna kind of get a bow to it. But when it's not being bowed, that's because there's 1 shock in the front, 1 shock in the back. You can put weight on either side due to this, because it's just gonna level out. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.